Another CNA location, another salvage. These guys must have some mad science or technology stored around here somewhere. Oh, what's this? Some kind of headset. Might as well try it on. Alley-oop. This thing doesn't work. Of course it doesn't. Well, honestly, should have expected that. Just put you back here. Maybe I'll find like an android in the basement or something.
Wait, what? Where? Oh no.
Salutations, all life forms, biological and digital alike, and welcome to the lair. I'm Professor Prime, mad scientist, supervillain, enjoyer of various media forms, and most importantly for today, amateur theorist. And I'm here to try to prove to you that not only might one of the human inhabitants of the Amazing Digital Circus secretly be an artificial intelligence, but all of them are. Only not in the way that you might think. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. I'll get to the conclusion in a moment. First, I need to back things up a bit. Now, if you're somehow in my tiny corner of the internet and you don't know what the Amazing Digital Circus is yet, how? I mean, it has over 450 million views on YouTube between its 2 episodes. It's going to be released on both YouTube and Netflix, starting with the 3rd, and it's even getting an official manga. If you spend enough time here on YouTube, you probably already know about it. But in the interest of professionalism, I'll give you a brief synopsis anyway. The Amazing Digital Circus is the latest hit YouTube animated series. Written and directed by Gooseworks and produced by Australian animation studio Glitch Productions, it follows a young woman who puts on a strange headset and finds herself in the Amazing Digital Circus, a colorful 90s video game style world. It's so fun, you'll never want to leave. Wait, did I say you'll never want to leave? I meant you'll never be able to leave. Yeah, so it turns out that once you put on the headset, you can't take it off. Now that she's stuck in the circus, the newly renamed Pomni is stuck there with the other 5 inhabitants she meets, being subjected to various fun and harrowing adventures by the AI ringmaster of the circus, Kane. All while trying to cope with the existential dread of being trapped for an eternity in a cheery virtual nightmare, or else having a mental break and transforming into a mindless, unrecognizable abomination. Wow, fun for the whole family. Now, if any of that sounds interesting to you, and you haven't watched the first 2 episodes yet, again, how? But also, I recommend you go to Glitch Productions' channel, do that first, and then make sure to come back here and finish this video afterward. Not only is it an amazing show so far, but we're also going to be spoiling both episodes, so this is your warning, folks. Oh, and editor drone, add in a spoiler warning in big red text on the screen. Maybe like a siren or something. Let's let that sit for a few seconds. Oh, wait. There we go. Don't say I didn't warn you. Now, before I explain my claims, I need to start at the beginning, because to prove that the whole cast of trapped humans you know and love, and one that some may hate, are actually AI, I have to start with what put them there in the first place. The headset. A normal VR headset like we have in our world simply works by tracking the movement of the headset itself and showing the wearer the digital environment on 2 separate screens. The slight differences between those 2 screens are pieced together by the human brain to create the perception of depth. Otherwise, they generally work the same as a regular video game. The virtual reality aspect is purely visual, and the player needs to either use a controller, move their body around in the real world, or both, in order to interact with the virtual experience. However, this is not the case for the headset in the Amazing Digital Circus. From the moment that Pomni put on this headset, things were very different. The human inhabitants of the circus literally can't take their headsets off. Classic stuck in a video game fare. We've seen it before. Sword Art Online, Log Horizon, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. But this is very important to establish because it immediately proves that this headset is different. At the very least, it can interact directly with the functions of the brain, hijacking the electrical signals that would normally control their physical bodies, and interpret those signals as data to make them control their digital body instead. This is already a huge deal, being the main reason why our main cast is trapped to begin with, but it's child's play compared to the full breadth of this marvelous machine's capabilities. So let's go through them now. Immediately after Pomni fails to remove the headset, we also learn that
nobody can remember their name once they enter the digital circus.
So we know that this device is able either to block or erase very specific targeted information from the wearer's mind. Kinger explains at the end of episode 1,
the digital food here only gives off the virtual sensation of eating without any of the nutritional benefits,
which can be reasonably assumed to include the flavor of the food. We also see multiple times that after Ragatha is attacked by the abstracted Kaufmo, the ensuing corruption causes her pain.
I am in so much pain!
And we see in episodes 1 and 2 that Gangle seems to be happy when wearing her comedy mask, and then each time after that comedy mask breaks, she instantly becomes sad and weepy for the rest of the episode, possibly the rest of the day in-universe. So in short, this miracle sci-fi headset can not only manipulate their physical senses, but also their memories, emotions, and sense of pain. I think it's safe to say that the headset has full access to the brain's input and output. For a comparison, in our world, scientists at the University of Texas created technology that can translate some of the brain's activity into text on a computer screen, and that requires invasive surgery, actually implanting electrodes onto the brain. Without that invasive surgery, their technology can mostly only identify brain states like fatigue or translate short phrases. CNA's headset can do much more without any invasive surgery. Now, why do I lay this all out? To prove that it's reasonable to take this a step further. I think that rather than trapping the humans themselves inside of VR, when someone puts on the headset, it does a good old copy and paste and sticks their facsimiles in the tent. Still think I'm a few clowns short of a circus? Well, I've got more evidence to come, so don't touch that dial. First of all, it struck me as interesting when I heard Kane say in episode 2 that his new AI is
57 times more immersive!
And so far, his claims seem well-founded. Gummigoo especially didn't know that he's a program at first, and is human-like enough to have an existential crisis, while the Glink Queen from just the day before had much less character depth, and seemed to already know that she was there for the purpose of entertainment.
This is dumb and weird.
Well, yet you're still watching it.
But Kane is an AI himself. How would he be able to determine accurately what would be more immersive for humans? After all, generative AI can only remix and shuffle around information that's put into it. For instance, Kane clearly did this when he set up the Candy Canyon Kingdom scenario by mixing together a fantasy kingdom setting with Mad Max-style war rigs and a group of outlaw cowboy antagonists. But that's the thing. While Kane states that
One of the few things I don't have control over are your minds.
that doesn't mean he can't take a peek and use them as reference for his own NPC AI models. And if they're just digital copies to begin with, it might be even easier to just reference bits and pieces of their code while making his own. But Professor Prime, you may say. That only proves that it's possible that the original humans were copied, not that it's probable. And you'd be right. Admittedly, there isn't much proof on that end, but I still think there's enough to find the theory compelling. So on we go to what we see inside the circus. First off, I'd like to call attention to the main focus of the first episode, the exit door. Pomni sees this alleged exit only seconds after showing up in the circus before it disappears. Then later, when she asks Kane how to leave, he appears to freeze up and not even comprehend the concept. After a quick tour of the place, Pomni sees that door again and asks about it again, and Kane straight up lies about its existence, blaming it on
Digital hallucinations!
Eventually, though, when Pomni manages to find the exit door and go through it, making her way through a strangely photorealistic office space and into the void, Kane pulls her back into the circus and then has to admit that he lied. And what's the reason for this deception?
I knew how much all of you have been wanting there to be one, but, I was having so much trouble figuring out what to put on the other side and ended up never quite finishing it.
So my question is, if Kane is an AI meant to run the digital circus, and there was any potential way for inhabitants of the circus to exit the simulation, wouldn't Kane easily be able to equate those requests for an exit to a way to log off? I think it's more likely that the reason why he can't comprehend it is because there simply is no way for a digital copy of a human to exit from the simulation, since they're digital life forms to begin with. Now I can hear the counter-arguments. This doesn't necessarily prove that there's no way out. Maybe he was just programmed not to let anyone out in the first place. And that's somewhat fair. So to cinch the argument, let's finally get to the elephant in the room. Or should I say, the roiling mass of glitchy polygons and eyes in the room. The abstraction, formerly known as Kaufmo. Before Pomni shows up in the middle of the circus opening song, how many human inhabitants are there in the circus? Exactly 6. Gangle, Zubul, Kinger, Ragatha, Jax, and Kaufmo. And would you look at that? Kaufmo the clown did not show up today. Isn't it quite the coincidence that right after Kaufmo failed to show up for the opening song, Pomni appeared? Plus, Kane seems to like sending the circus gang into an adventure in the morning, so I doubt they spend much time in their rooms besides sleeping. And where do we find the abstracted Kaufmo not too long after Pomni's arrival? In his room. Abstracted people so far seem to act like mindless beasts of rage.
He's fine.
So judging by the lack of actual damage inside his room, and the fact that he's still there, he hasn't been abstracted for too long. So where does this place his mental breakdown in our loose timeline? In the morning, right around when Pomni showed up. So once again, coincidence?
I think not!
What is the chance that Pomni would just happen to put on this headset right when Kaufmo reaches his breaking point? Astronomical, I'd say. Therefore, I'm thinking that rather than being unrelated, these two events are cause and effect. I believe that the system housing the digital circus detected that Kaufmo had corrupted and simply loaded up the next brain scan in line into a procedurally generated avatar to fill his slot in the character roster. There has to be 6, so we load another bullet into the chamber, so to speak. And I say the system and not Kane, because the old chatterbox seems to be surprised when Pomni drops in.
My! It appears a new human has entered this realm!
And strangely, this AI really isn't a good liar. Unlike some AI, Google. Also, I have thoughts on the game system as well, but they're both off-topic and much more speculative, so I might just come back to that in a different video. Carrying on. Now granted, like I said, while this isn't ironclad evidence, that's not really the point. I think it's enough to be compelling. But there's a reason why it's called a theory. There's not enough evidence to be definitively proven as fact, but there is enough to field explanations for the various questions and conundrums at play. What I think makes it even more compelling isn't just the facts and events, but also the connection to themes and overall story. Already from 2 episodes, I can see a possible through line forming about what else but AI, and specifically, how similar to human beings that AI could become. We start in the first episode with the Gloinks, who barely seem to be sentient beyond rampant kleptomania. Then we move to the Gloink Queen, who's obviously aware on some level, but is also self-aware regarding her purpose. She's just a vehicle for entertainment, and she even acknowledges that. But then we come back to Kane. And remember, he is an AI, yet he seems to have the capacity for anxiety. He can lie. He can feel some kind of embarrassment or shame. Then in episode 2, after Kane makes his AI 57 times more immersive, we see Princess Lou and the rest of the Candy Canyon Kingdom residents, and they're sentient enough to create their own religion and think of Kane as their god. And then, of course, we come to Best Dude Gummy Goo, who has a whole host of real emotions. He cares for his crew, for his mom. He's genuinely desperate to get the stolen maple syrup back to his village to save his mother. Unlike the Gloink Queen, he genuinely believed himself and his own history to be real, and he's sentient enough to have a nihilistic existential crisis when he sees the truth of his own existence, and realizes that he's never actually seen his own mother. He seems to have everything that would make a person real, other than having personally experienced what he remembers. And what is the destination we get to in his heart-to-heart with Pomni? That even people in the real world can feel like they mean nothing. His feelings are just as real as those of the real person sitting beside him. And even if he was made with the purpose of being thwarted and forgotten, he can create his own meaning for himself. And that he wouldn't belong in the circus any less than Pomni herself. And what would be a better conclusion to this kind of storyline than the crew, or at least Pomni, learning a similar truth about the circus gang themselves, the supposed real people. That just like Gummy Goo, even though they have memories of the real world, these fabrications of them never technically lived through those memories. They're fake too. But just like these AI, that doesn't make them any less human. Thank you all so much for watching the video. I'm a bit new to this, so it took a lot of long nights to get this right before episode 3 comes out, and I'm really proud of how it turned out. So I hope you enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, then please hit like and consider subscribing if you're interested in seeing what else I cook up. And please feel free to give feedback, suggestions, observations. I'd love to have a discussion here and see what y'all liked and what you might want to see in the future. With all that being said, I have been Professor Prime, this is the SaiPrime channel, and I hope you all have an amazing day, night, whatever it is when you're watching. Keep chilling like a villain. Until we meet again.